My name is Krystal Gonzalez. I am a mom of four, wife. I am very busy lady. And hey, Wendell, thank you for joining. Hey, guys. And just this summer, many of you have found my Instagram from this small little big mass shooting in Baltimore, right? My daughter, Aaliyah Gonzalez, was a part of the 30 people who were shot. And unfortunately, Aaliyah had lost her life that night, right? So many of you are getting to know me through this tragedy. And I want to welcome you all, and I want to thank you for your support. It's been absolutely amazing to me to have your love, your support, and your prayers. And I cannot thank you enough, because I remember when this happened, there was such an influx of messages just pouring out, right? And it was just a devastating time, and you guys were just coming together as community and just showing me, broken me, so much love. And I thank you so much, my family. You know, we've been making strides, right? And it's by the grace of God. It's by the grace of God. So I have been in this space for a while. Many of you are getting to know me, but I've been the way you see me today has been exacerbated by 10, right? Because I cannot sit still and be complacent with my baby being shot and killed, right? Because none of the factors add up to me. You know, Aaliyah was never in Brooklyn homes a day in her life before that day. She didn't really associate with too many people who were from Brooklyn Park, you know. So just knowing that she had just just knowing that she had just graduated high school and had all of these plans, you know, to start college and do all these great things, and just to have that cut off. When you tell me that Aaliyah was shot, you might as well have been speaking Japanese, because it just didn't make sense, right? So that's a little bit about me. One of the other things that I feel like I needed this series to happen is because not often do we get to hear the survivor's voice, right? There is so much recognition and so many things being put in place for offenders, for criminals, for, you know, protecting their rights, right? And then we have our survivors who are left to kind of fend for themselves. Yes, they say they have victim services that are available to survivors, but I can guarantee you, any survivor that'll tell you that they have received any kind of services, it's a joke. It really is a sad situation, and I am here to kind of expose all of these broken holes, and not as a way to exploit or just point the finger at these systems, but to fix these systems. I am so solution focused, right? Because that's the only way we make changes. Thank you so much. Yeah, they took my beautiful baby, and I still, you know, every day is a struggle. She's there, right? And then I have here, like, we don't want any more of these kind of shirts, you know. Rest in peace, Aaliyah Gonzalez. That shouldn't even be coming out of my mouth, right? So yeah, she's always right here on my shoulders, and I hear her so often. You know, she's got my back. I know if anybody working on the other side, they got my back. It's Aaliyah, you know. And just like it was here on Earth, like, we a mommy daughter duo, 100%. She was 18 years old. She was 18 years old when she was shot. She yeah, that's a little bit about me. I have been getting so many people where because everyone grieves differently, right? But I knew from the very beginning, like, I needed to seek answers, and I needed to tap like, I needed to kick the door down with my spirituality. I needed to find out why this thing here was brought to us, right? And so I've done a lot of work on myself. This is every single day I'm working, and I needed to do that because I have to keep my family's mental health intact too. You know what I mean? So that was did you know anything about her going to the party? So when Aaliyah told me that she was going to a block party in Brooklyn Park, I thought it was where her friend lived, and her friend lived in the suburbs. So we're not from Maryland, and we certainly weren't familiar with Brooklyn Park. So when she said block party, I know where I grew up at. You know what I mean? Block parties, that's holy ground. That's our sanctuary. That's where community comes. You get what I'm saying? There's DJs, there's food, there's people, there's community. There's no one there shooting. There's no one there out there to shoot and kill. You know what I'm saying? So yes, that was on my mind when Aaliyah told me that she was going to a block party. It was never that there would be hundreds of people out there with guns and knives. That just wasn't on my radar. So I hope that answered your question. Now back to what I was saying before, like you have, I've had different processes with dealing with Aaliyah's passing, and I'll share more with that with you later. But I've had a lot of people who've been reaching out to me, who have had it on their heart to reach out to me because they have noticed how I've been moving. What is this? Can someone Google the average cost of homicide, please, and repost it in the comments? 17.25, yes, in homicide. And gun violence in America, as I said before, is the #1 killer of our children. That is the primary death, cause of death for our children here in America is gun violence. It's not an illness. It's not a car accident. It's not an overdose. It is gun violence that's taking our children out. One of the mothers that I'm so excited to, let's get this party started, right? I'm so excited to introduce Tabitha Gary. The reason why I say that with excitement is because from the very beginning, she reached out to me via Instagram, as many of you have, and left me a message, and I happened to catch hers, and her story spoke to me, and all of my tears, it spoke to me. And we've been communicating via IG Messenger for a while now, right? But it wasn't until just last week, and Tabitha will come on here and share her story with you, that she actually picked up the phone to call me and tell me her story. And so that validated this Survivor's Voice series, because I had just had all of these things happening. Now, keep in mind, I just launched a nonprofit. And if you guys have not gone to redirectingourculture.org, sign up, send out your information. Also, don't be afraid. I'll need your contributions are going to go so far in our communities because of things that we're putting in place as we speak. So I thank you all in advance for your support. Now, Miss Tabitha, if you are here, I need you to go ahead and join in, and I'll bring you in, okay? So when Tabitha told me her story, I was so compelled to say, listen, I hear you, but I need the world to hear you too. Because the reason why we're doing this is not to exploit, right? The reason why we're doing this is so we can put a mirror to our communities, so that we can see what we're doing to ourselves, right? So that we can also let our politicians know and our legislators know that the impact of, you know.
Let me see.
There you go. I have to mute myself. Go ahead.
Okay, I can speak. Okay. My name is Tabitha. I'm the mother of Janelle Whedon. I service behavioral youth in Baltimore City and surrounding counties. Janelle was my 15-year-old daughter back in August of 2021. She was going to a friend's house, her best friend's house, to attend dance, uh, her dance competition that she had the next day. In the midst of her at her friend's house on her way honestly to get dropped back off home due to emergency at the friend's house, a shooting had rung out and the bullet traveled a block away and hit my daughter in the back of the neck. Um, it was very heartbreaking when I got the call because at this time when this situation happened to her, I was 7 months pregnant with my daughter, and it was a very great time in our life. I mean, it was just great time. I never would have thought in a million years that I would get a call that I needed to get the shock trauma because my daughter was shot. Um, First, I didn't initially get the call until 12 hours later. I found out that my daughter was a shock trauma, labeled as a Jane Doe at 12 p.m., and yet she was there for 12 hours. When I finally got the call, I was getting an ultrasound done, and I was with my fiance, and I was at the moment on my way to the doctors, and I got a call. But my son said someone had texted him and told him that Janai was shot. Um, at this time, I thought it was just a joke. I thought kids were just playing. You know how kids play these pranks and things like that. And I was just like, hey, you kids are just doing too much. This is not true. Y'all playing too much. Just hung up the phone. But in the midst of the process, I had went on through with the ultrasound. And as I was coming out, I was texting her a picture of the ultrasound because she was just so excited of having her new sister. By her being so older, they all was excited that we was having a new bundle of joy to our family. Um, mm. At that point, I got the phone call, and my son had called, and I could hear it in his voice. Something must was really wrong. He asked me, "Was I mine? Please don't pass out." And at that moment, I knew it was, and at that moment, I did. Right on the elevator. At that time, when I finally was up, I was surrounded by doctors. I had to go back to advanced fetal care. And they wouldn't let me leave. And I mean, it was so many doctors. In the midst of that, my fiance was on the phone with my grandmother speaking to her, who also works at University of Maryland. She told him that I needed to get to shock trauma right away so I could come identify her. So when I heard the word identify her, I knew something was wrong. Finally, when I got there and I finally get up to the room, I finally sees her and my heart breaks. It was a really sad time. I wasn't expecting to see when I got there what I thought I would see. I thought maybe it's just something small. Maybe when they said she was shot, maybe an arm, maybe a leg, but not nothing that I thought that what they would tell me when I got there. Finally, when I go in and I see my daughter in there, it was a really sad thing to see. She didn't look like her. She didn't look like my baby when I got there. And all I kept saying was, "What happened to her? Tell me what happened to her. Who did this? Who did this?" I mean, her face was from the impact of her hitting the ground when she was shot. It split her lip in half. Um, her tongue, it just was bad, tears all over the place. Finally, the doctors come around and they let me know that my daughter was shot in the back of the neck and it severed her spine into pieces, which means that it severed her spine and her spine basically split up into pieces. They told me that if she ever was to get up again, that she would be paraplegic from the neck down. They told me that when they got to her, she was dead on the scene, but they worked on her almost an hour before they got her heartbeat to come back. So at that time, I already knew, hey, y'all worked on it for an hour, but yet I still have hope. I have faith in God. And at this moment, I just started praying, God, please, let this not be true. Please just wake her up. Can you just let her, get up, let her know I'm here? And that's all I kept saying was like, hey, I'm here, I'm here. Tell me who did this. Tell me who did this. And at this time, as a mother, I'm raging. They tell me my daughter got shot in the back of the neck. At this moment, I want to know who done it. I want to know where they are. I mean, I got all types of thoughts in my head at this moment. Um, I don't know. She was on life support for 3 days. And then finally, we got a call. I was there one time when we got a call that they had to hurry up and rush her back in because her brain was swelling and she was starting to have seizures. At that moment, when I was telling them that I didn't want them to cut on her anymore, they was coming to me telling me that I needed to contact my family and tell them to come on and say bye.
Hang on, Tab, just a second. First of all, I needed to slow down just a minute because this is a mother who is seeing her child with tubes running out of her body, functions that are starting to, her body is stopped, your functions, right? And they are asking her for more life-preserving measures. How unfair of an ask is that to a mother? How do we make that determination? Because we don't want our children to suffer, and yet we don't want them to go. Tab, you are absolutely incredible and brave for sharing your story. I really appreciate you. You can go ahead.
Um, at that moment, it was very hard for me because I had lost her father. She lost her dad 11 years prior to being murdered here in Baltimore, Maryland, also. All for nothing. Um, it was sad for me because I had to contact her, my other children, her sisters and brothers, and let them know that their sister wasn't coming home. At that moment, it was heartbreaking because I didn't know which way to go. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want her to go, but I didn't want her to suffer. I didn't want them to cut on her no more, but I wanted her to be here. But God had other plans. It was just out of my control. At that moment, that's where the anger comes in because when it's out of your control, that's where you, as a mother, is angry. I can't control it. I can't help her. I can't assist her where she's going. I can't go where she's going. At this moment, I just wanted to die. I didn't care how I died. I just wanted to go with her. All I kept saying was, God, I just want to die. I want to be with her when she goes. I need to know she's okay. I need to know what's wrong. I need to speak to her. It was really a sad, sad, sad time. At this moment, I was pregnant with my baby girl, and I'm already considered high risk. And so I wasn't eating enough. It was really wasn't eating in anything, and I still had to try to be strong for her. Um, I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know where to begin to plan. I didn't know where to begin to. I just didn't know what to do. I had finally reached out to my grandmother, and let her know, she was just with me every step. She was there with me at the hospital. She was my voice because I didn't have one to speak. I couldn't speak. She made decisions for me on my behalf that I couldn't make. And it was very heartbreaking. I didn't know where to begin to pick out a casket for a final place for your 15-year-old who was supposed to be starting her sophomore year. Her compassion and cosmetology was her major at Carver High School. She put her all into that. At 15 years old, that's all she did. She practiced throughout the summer. She practiced virtually. I mean, she did what they told her to do, and she mastered it at 15 years old. On the weekends, she was doing people photo shoots for baby showers, people proms, and people just want to just get dressed nice. She believed in making people feel good. And at 15 years old, she was really doing it on the weekends, making an extra $300. She had already planned out for her what she wanted to do and what she was going to do once this final year 2024 came. Um, it was very heartbreaking because I didn't know how I was going to survive. I didn't know how I was going to live. I didn't know how I was going to keep going for my other children. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to make it. Um,
Tab, can I hold you for a real quick? Because you just said something that I need to expound on. When you have other children, it is one of the things that people don't know what to say. They don't know how to comfort you. They don't know what to say. But one of the comments that I got the most is, "You still have other children." Well, I know that, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to be with her too, right? Because there's no one over the other. As a mother, you lost a cub. You understand? And there's no separation between the two. So yes, we have reasons to go on, but that doesn't mean that we want to be separated from them either, right?
um, honestly, at that moment when that came around, if it wasn't for my friends and family, I wouldn't have made it. I mean, my friends came and they just planned the whole thing. I didn't know what to do. I didn't really know too much what to say. I had a great support system with my friends, and my best friends and my friends, and I really commend them because they helped out a lot. Honestly, I didn't really have to do anything. It was a very sad time because when it came time to close the casket, I knew that it was it, and I wouldn't see her again. I didn't know where to begin, even how to twist her down in the casket, because I knew that I couldn't go. It was sad for my kids because at this moment they were going through so many different changes, in spite of me going through my changes. And it was just very hard as a mother, especially expecting the baby and high risk to go through at the moment. At that moment, I actually went from burying her 3 days for my birthday, which was actually August the 29th, which was actually supposed to be the first day of her sophomore year. She never made it. Her funeral was August the 26th. I went actually from being pregnant to actually burying the baby to having a funeral to actually giving birth. It was the most hardest thing I ever dealt with in my life. I have lost people. I had lost a husband. I had lost people, and people say, "Hey, well, you've been here before and you lost a husband." I don't care. It is nothing like losing a child. It will break you into pieces. I mean, it broke my spirit down to me. I didn't even know I ever could be broke down too. It was very hard for me. I couldn't really be there for my baby like I wanted to because yet I was still grieving this one I just lost. Yet I still had to try to be here for a baby who needed me going through her own issues, being born at 35 weeks, 34 weeks, and had to be in the hospital for a whole extra month. And so I'm all over the place. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to comment. I don't know if I'm postpartum depression. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, it was very, very, very hard. I shut down for almost 2 years. This is like the first year that I'm actually coming out my shell. For 2 years, I wasn't able to come outside. I didn't attend events. I didn't socialize. I actually went into isolation because I needed it. And at that moment, I did because God had to work on me. He had to show me that I could survive this because I didn't think that I could. I needed to be alone. I couldn't be there for my friends, and my friends said I just couldn't be there for them. I wanted to so bad, and I would make promises to them like, "Hey, I'll be here for you. I'll be here for you," and I couldn't. My best friend had surgery, and I even promised her that I would be there for her. And then when it came time to surgery, I couldn't. And for a time, I reached out to her, and I had to explain to her, like, hey, I want to be there, but I can't. You know, I got so much going on. It just changed everything about me. I couldn't be there for people like I normally could be. And yet, people couldn't be there for me like I wanted them to be because they couldn't get to me where I was at this moment. It was only me and God, and we had to battle it out. And I'm talking about we battle. I mean, I said some things, and I was angry. I don't understand how this happened to me. Why me? I'm a great person. I'm always there for people. It was very, 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 very hard. I have seen over the last 2 years, I went through so many changes, not just me, but my children. It affected my children academically because they, imagine, I couldn't imagine, having my sister's funeral 3 days before school. Um, it was times where my daughter would shut herself in a room and cry, say she wanted to kill herself, wouldn't let us in. She would go to school, and the people would just address her at the school, not being trained to deal with trauma informed, children. And when kids are really going through trauma, not following the guidelines, looking into the system to see what is going on. Kids are coming from summer, and the school system just didn't have what they needed for kids. And so she would get into it all the time with the principal because they would pull her up and want to know why she wasn't in school. She would have her earphones in her ears, and she told me it would help her cope while she done her work. It would block out the noise. She would just have anxiety just walking in the hall. It collapsed all the way down. I had to get calls to pick up kids, my son, every day from school because he couldn't handle it. He was crying, yet I still had a baby and couldn't even handle myself. It was really hard. My oldest son, here you is, you got a 20-year-old, and yet someone killed his 15-year-old sister, and yet I still have to get him to maintain his composure because he is exploding. And now he's going through changes because he can't be there for us. So I had to still hold him grounded where he won't, try to do, just go all different ways to keep him just this one place. At this moment, I had the detectives I had working on the case, and they was very great. They actually came to me 2 months after her shooting and told me that they had made an arrest in her case.
Okay, Tab. Hang on just a second before you go there, because we're getting ready to transition into something else that that really, really affected me, and I know where you're going, but I want to emphasize the fact that when you do have other children, not only did we lose our daughters, each one of them had a unique relationship with their sister. Each one of them. That her father had a unique relationship. You know what I'm saying? And so not only are we devastated, but now as moms, we've also got to carry the weight on our backs to try to make sure counseling is in place for them, right? To make sure the schools are on alert in case to pick up on behaviors, because there is nothing, not only was it out of our control that our kids were shot, but it's out of our control to really manage their our other children's emotions, right? When it comes to dealing with grief, because we're still trying to figure this out ourselves. And as you just said, you were down for 2 years. I couldn't even imagine having to deal with a brand new baby while burying another. That is a testament of your will, your strength. And I couldn't even believe when you told me that you were pregnant at the time that this happened. I said, oh my God, my God. But we are going to transition into this place because this is a space that is very pivotal to this entire story. Your uniqueness, it has to be told. There has to be a light that's shown on this. And I want to say before we move on, Gun Violence Anonymous, sir, I really would love to connect with you. I know you reached out on me on the other page. But we are certainly going to get together. I appreciate your comments. I'm seeing them here. All of you guys, I thank you so much for tuning in and being so supportive. That's one. I want y'all to show Tabitha some love in the comments, because when I hear her speak, I hear her passion. I hear her love for her baby. I hear her frustrations. I hear her anger. And it takes a lot for her to now, after 2 years, find her voice. That's what we're doing this for, right? It's finding her voice so that she can heal and she can move through this, right? So thank y'all for being supportive, and show her some love, guys. Thank you, Tab. You can go ahead.
Stuff, with this going on now, it's all types of changes. I'm talking about all mental type of changes. You got me going crazy. I don't know if I'm going to come in. I have a newborn baby, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? I have these other children going through, three others going through these different changes, and I'm getting calls left and right. I'm just all directions. I'm all over there. You got to try to get counseling for your kids, and you got to go through trying to find people that can help them, family members that you think. I called on, so many people. Just to try to help. It was really sad. Where was the people that were supposed to help? Nowhere. City offered nothing. At this time, it became, they told, okay, so 2 months later, they said they made arrest. They told me they made arrest, and that they had made arrest in her case, and that it was a 16-year-old boy, a young male. And so at this moment, I'm like, okay, 16. And I'm like, what? 16? I wasn't thinking, maybe a kid. I thought maybe, it was probably someone older. At this moment, I couldn't really speak on when they told me he was 16. At this moment, I didn't care when he was 16. I didn't care where he came from. It didn't make me no difference where he came from. I had so much anger in my heart, I couldn't even speak. Here I am, I serve the community helping youth all the time, but this one time I could not speak. Almost like a year and a half, into it, I finally was able to ask the state's attorney, where did the young man come from? She couldn't really give me no answer about his home or where he came or background. She didn't know. Finally, as we go through our court, they lets me know that I see it for my own self. When trial goes on, the young man mother, I mean, not a soul in his family shows up for him for court. Not no time. No matter how many times we have postponed this for the last 2 years, nobody never showed up for this young man. Here I am dealing with the grief and the heartache of what I have to go through and what I'm faced to deal with after this tragedy, but yet still have empathy for somebody else's son who hurt my child due to the knowledge of I know of behavior health. I'm thinking as I'm looking at this baby, like he don't know. Hopefully he don't have the way of life. He don't know. And so, and I'm looking and I'm like, this is crazy. And I'm asking God, why would you put me in a predicament to have empathy for somebody else? And yet I'm going through so much. I knew then when God was speaking that, Tabitha, you could do this. I was like, I can't. And so it was so many different changes that I just was going through at that time. And I battled. I mean, I seen the good, the bad, the ugly of myself. I was lashing out at people. I was just just all over the place. I didn't want to be bothered, and it was things I didn't know said and did that I thought I would never do. And they took to my fiance one say, hey, you really need to I think we really need to address the problem, and I did because at first I wasn't trying to get the help. I kept saying I didn't need to speak to anybody because I feel like I'm working behavior health, and why would I speak to anyone? And so at this moment, they go, back to the court. The young man comes to court, and I'm thinking that when the state's attorney reach out to me, they're the experts. That you're telling me that you're charging this young man with first degree, second degree murder, and I'm thinking that you have all the evidence to prove that this young man did first degree and second degree murder. I don't know what the evidence that you have on him. I don't know, what was displayed. The only thing I know is when I get to court and I hear what I'm seeing and finally hearing the story and everything. So, despite all the evidence that was in court, this whole week of court was very emotional for me. So many times I had to be taken out. I had to see gruesome photos that I'd never seen before. Body camera footage of the police officers on the scene. I seen when the officer first got to my daughter and she was dead, face down on the ground. I seen where he went to her and he patted her and she wouldn't move. He began to turn her over and surrender CPR him until he gave other people. I seen on cameras from people, ring camera, and from the camera from the streets, my daughter just standing outside the car with her dog, like she was doing an innocent child, waiting to be taken home with the lady who was supposed to be bringing her home. When a bullet traveled up the street and hit her instantly in the back of the neck, and she fell. I had to look at video photos of gunshot wounds in her neck. I had to look at hear so many nasty stories. Even the suspect story when he was at homicide showed no type of remorse when they had him in there. I mean, he was flexing. He was up, doing, drinking water. They asked him one time, hey, you shot an innocent 15-year-old girl. What do you expect me to tell her mom? You tell her what you want to tell her. I mean, he was just, he didn't have no type of remorse.
Tabitha, don't run past that part. The police say to the 16-year-old boy, we have a 15-year-old who was shot. What do we tell her mother? And he says, you can tell her whatever you want. And now we got to unpack that a little bit, right? Because there's so much trauma there. Because no person who has any type of moral compass would ever offer, tell her whatever you want after you just shot and killed someone's daughter. Like we've gotta we've gotta turn this thing around, y'all. We do.
He had did that. He was down there, and despite all the evidence they had, I mean, he even admitted it that he had a mask on, and he was there, and on Instagram the next day, he cut his hair off, had the murder weapon. I mean, smoking, jamming to music, making videos, trying to sell this murder weapon, which he was able to do, and sell to another 15-year-old for $925. Okay. So at this moment, it's just a lot going on. And so as we going through the trial, it comes down to the verdict. And I'm thinking, when she said first degree and second degree murder, I know that as I'm going through our trial, we know that she's an innocent bystander. First degree, second degree murder, yeah, but where was the manslaughter? Did he come out and intentionally kill her? Because that's what first degree murder is, that you mean that you intentionally meant to kill a specific person. No, he did not do that. Did he have disregard for life and come out shooting into a crowd and a bullet traveled up the street and hit my innocent daughter in the back of the neck? Yes, he did. And so the jury so many times came back and forth with that one question. Because they had so many evidence, but yet they could not find him guilty on first degree and second degree murder because he didn't intentionally kill her, because he did not potentially target a specific person. So therefore, he was found not guilty on first degree and second degree murder, but guilty on reckless endangerment, having a firearm under the age of 21, and assault. So the lady, comes to me, and when the verdict comes down that he is not guilty, the young man grins. At one time throughout the trial, the young man had a straw in his mouth and was actually chewing it. To me, I knew that was disrespect, but also to me, I knew, look at him. Where's his parents? Anybody's here for him? Who's teaching him? He don't even have a clue what's going on. You get what I'm saying? So I still have to have empathy for somebody else's son who just told the police, tell him what you want to tell him, who makes a video when I'm calling my family and my kids down to come say goodbye to my daughter. You out there making videos and posting murder weapons and cutting your hair off, and you thinking it's a joke. And yet I still have to have empathy, because yet your mother or nobody who is responsible for you is here to support you. So it's just a very sad story. The state's attorney tells me once it's over, hey, I hope you can get to some closure. He will get sentenced for the reckless endangerment and the assault and the handgun. But when it comes to Janai for first degree and second degree murder, he could never be tried again ever for her case again in Maryland, because it'd be called double jeopardy. And if we were to charge him with manslaughter now, we could never use the evidence that we just used in this case against him. So you tell me where it leaves me. So not only do I have to deal with everything that I just had to go through from beginning to end, or every transpire, all this 360 of different changes in my life, I have to impact what I just seen on the court and take this with me too. I have a problem with that. She just left. No one contacted me. Nobody reached out to me saying, hey, how are you doing? Follow up. Anything. Nothing. Just, hey, come back for sentencing in April. So my thing is, I'm not trying to say throw him away for the rest of his life. I'm not trying to say take him away and put him somewhere, because obviously he don't know. Obviously he haven't been taught. Do I believe that did he know that he wasn't supposed to shoot a gun, that he knew that was wrong? Absolutely. You're 16. You're 16 years old. You know you're not supposed to do that. But the way of life, the way you was taught coming up, somebody failed big time, because they failed when you showed where a parent didn't even come to court for him. Not at all. So it was really sad to me, and it was just like a slap in my face from the justice system that they failed us. They failed me. They failed my family. They act like her life was in vain. They just leave it alone. And she said, I hope you can get to some sort of healing. And she just went on by her business and just went on and left out, and that was it. And so it was like, this is unacceptable. How did you even let this slip? Why wasn't manslaughter on there? You're the expert. How did you wait 2 years and you still didn't see where you was doing this wrong? And you still, give me the attitude that you just doesn't care. And so I have a problem with that. I need somebody to come speak to me, come talk to me and say something. I did a certificate from the mayor's office for her name on it that they give, I guess. And when they sent it to me, her name is spelled wrong. They don't have Janai on it. They had Victoria Wheaton on it. And I feel never insult, because I feel like nobody is taking this serious. I feel like people thinking it's a joke now. And so I'm thinking, like, we put our trust into the justice system because that's what we're supposed to do. And yet we're putting our justice into the system, and y'all failing us. So this young man gets to come back out on the streets into the community and able to commit another act because he thinks he got away with it. Absolutely not. It cannot happen. Why did this happen? It needs to be known. I don't think I'm the first person that this ever happened to. Am I the first person that probably ever spoke up? I do believe. But it's not the first time. I believe that they need to be looked into the state's attorney office. Look, why wasn't this held accountable? Why did the state's attorney did not go forth with manslaughter? Because she failed her. She failed me. My kids, yet I still have to go through so many mental changes. I had to get them like caught up just to get in school. I have a daughter that's in 11th grade, and due to so many things she went through the last 2 years, she had like dropped, and now she had to go to school to get credits, trying to get just so she can make it to her graduating class next year. I shouldn't have to do that because I worked hard and I did what I was supposed to do as a parent by my children. I made sure that they were well. I made sure that they wasn't out here doing things that they wasn't supposed to do. I did it all alone. It's just no excuse, and I feel like it's a problem, and I don't know how this is able to slip. This cannot happen again. This can't happen. I don't want it to happen to anybody else's family. And nobody is contacting me. I have reached out to so many times, and people are not contacting me. It's like they just swept it underneath the rug. So now I have a problem with it. So now I'm going to have to come out and fight for her. I have to be her voice. I don't even know where to begin to be a voice because I never thought that I would be in a seat for this to be a voice. So I have a lot in me, deal with everything I have on top of me, still with the anger that is no justice for her. But yet I still have to go through everything that came with me. You did this. You did this to my family. I didn't ask for this. You did it. You didn't know that when you shot that gun, you didn't know who family it would, what it would do. He just took my family for a complete. He just broke it. He broke it. The kids, you got to try to get their relationships together. They're bickering back and forth. Now when they're arguing, oh, I can't wish you die. I wish you die. I wish it was you to die. And this and that. So you got to go with your kids battling this and this and that. And you got to start jumping. But yet when you go places with your kids, you're trying to keep your composure. So many times still to the day, when I take my kids places, especially my daughter, my 17-year-old, because her and my daughter were like this. If you see pictures from them when they were young, all you see is them is hugging and kissing each other ever since babies. When I take her out in public, so many times I excuse myself to cry. I try not to cry in front of them, and I try not to cry in front of her because I could see the brokenness in her, and I could see how hurt she really is. And it's nothing as a mother, I could really do. And I have to try to help her to be a survivor also through this, where she feel like it's no hope, it's no justice. Why did this happen to my sister? I want to die. It's not fair. And one day she this, and the next minute she's not. And you don't know what it's like to lose a sister. And you don't know what it's like to lose a dad. And you don't know what it's like to be, this and that. And she going through all, you got to deal with your son. It's just so much agony, like so much agony, 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 agony. Oh my God, agony. Like it's sad. And nobody has nothing to say. Nobody from, you know, can come out and say anything, and then they have you go to these different agencies uh, as one, the Victim Compensation Board. And so it took me just 2.5 years to just actually go up there because you have 3 years, but they contact you within the 3 years when you're a victim of the street. And I don't know if they probably contact you from the victim advocate where the people contact you. And so you go up there and you have to take, it's an insult. You take these paperwork up there they ask you for. If you have to go back through your folders, and here you got to pull out a folder that I had for her, and I got to bring out the death certificate. I got to bring out this. I got to bring out what I paid for. I got to bring out this. I got to bring out all this work and all this stuff. Take it up there to them like they asked me. And they don't accept copies. You got to bring the actual copy. To actually get up there and then for them to say, send you a letter 2 weeks later. We didn't get the paperwork. We need you to bring the copies. They need to be in before a certain date. It's an insult. Like, I mean, the people who's running the victims, and it's just the city is just, it's no type of caring. It's no type of compassion. And I feel like it's just no one cares. And I am going to fight. I am going to fight for her. And I am going to, this cannot happen. And it's just not right. It's not. It's not right to me. It's not right to my family. It's not right to her friends, the people who care for her and care for us as a family. And they have to deal through these different changes. She touched a lot of people's lives. I mean, at the funeral, it was so packed, and you would have thought it was like children. It was so quiet. It was mainly adults. I'm talking about older adults. I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about people I didn't know she knew. that was showing up. I didn't know half of the people that I thought I knew that came. I didn't know half of them, and it would just show the impact that she had on people's lives just at a young age. And it just showed me that I did the right thing as a parent, leading her in the right direction. But here I am in year 2024, where next month on the 18th, she would have been turning 18. This is a year where she's supposed to be graduating high school and also her college preparatory program with her college high school diploma and her AA degree. And she's supposed to be off to Atlanta for college and also opening up a shop there. It's hard. I'm supposed to be getting ready for prom. I waited. I'm supposed to have two girls going to prom, and yet I just have one. And so it's hard for her. It's hard for me sometimes to be there for them and see them hurt. Sometimes it's hard to pull myself out of where I came from. When the verdict came in, I felt myself slipping back to where I just came from 2 years ago, and I had to fight hard not to. I didn't want to, and I didn't want to go back to that place where I was because I was just person. I mean, I was working, and my sister worked with me, and it was so many times where they would come to her and say, "Hey, your sister walked out crying. Your sister just left, and she's crying and going," and she would have to, "Hey, leave alone. I understand what's going." It was that I had to work like that and still had to go on with everyday life and deal with everything that I was dealing with. So I'm getting to a sort of place of healing. I'm not nowhere where I want to be because I'm just starting to heal. And I got a long process to go. Am I grateful for where I came from? I am. Am I grateful to God for giving me the strength? I am. And I thank for him to keep me there to be strong for my family and my children because I was pulling from an empty cup. I ain't had nothing to pull from. I was dragging a cup. I'm serious. And I didn't know how I was doing it. And so I'm in a place where I just don't want this to happen to anyone else's family. And Al's stories kind of was similar a little bit due to shootings in the crowd, mass shootings, and just being teenagers, who is causing these type of conflicts to the families, and nothing is done. So if we're not rehabilitating the children and we're not holding them accountable, and I'm not saying, throw them away, but when you have a child that has repeated behavior, gun violence, and constantly keep getting arrested for guns, and being into this and that, I don't understand how they're out here and able to commit these crimes. Where are the people in place to service them? Nobody is servicing them. How are you out here on home monitor and you got a gun and you're able to sell a gun and you're able to commit more crimes because they don't care. It's like they don't fear anything. Why would you fear if there's no type of consequences? Why? And so I have answers, and yet I still don't know where I'm going with it. I haven't yet received the answers that I need, but I will get there. I will get there. And so this is a really hard year for me, and I'm very emotional because this would have been a big year for her. And so every day I cry. I mean, it's times where I'm driving, and I had to really pull my car over because I'm getting ready to crash it. It's time where I do want to crash it. I want to let the steering wheel go and just crash out. It's times where I have to call my grandmother or her mother or my mother or her grandmother which is my mother-in-law, and have to contact her to get prayer while I'm driving because I'm crying and I can't even catch my breath. I'm screaming in my car. People are looking at me like I'm crazy while I'm driving because they see me just crying and just looking crazy. And it's just sad that you have to deal with that in everyday life, that when you get up, that's the first thing you think about. And so you have to try to get your mood regulated just to try to get started with the day. Because once you think about that, you just don't want to do nothing. And you got to try to, and so to be surviving and trying to survive through this and to survive, I'm not nowhere near, people think that we are survivors, but we got a long way to go. And we're here trying to help others. And
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I remember when we talked 2 weeks ago, and I remember you sharing all of that with me and how deeply affected I was by it. And it was almost like you were a victim twice. It's not almost. you were victimized. Neither one of them were from anything that you have done, right? Your daughter was shot, and then manslaughter not even being a part of the indictment. That's insane to me, right? So, well, this is exactly why we're having this thing. And I also remember you saying where you were for the last 2 years, and then watching my page and how that's been affecting you, right? Because, and I also told you, you were not ready then. You also had to go through this trial, because right after the trial is when you actually called me, right? So what am I seeing here? I'm seeing that you understand that there's a community here, right? And just like someone else said, we have got to stick together. You absolutely right. That is the reason why we're doing this series. That is the reason, because we have to make our voices as strong as our criminals' voices are, as our politicians' voices are, because we will not be ignored. This cannot happen. This cannot continue to spread like a cancer through our communities and no one pay attention to it. This cannot happen. Okay, so you hear echo? Hold on just a second. Let me go out of here for a second. I'm not gonna exit out, but Tab, what I want you to talk about next, I know, because hold on a minute. That might work. Can you, no, it's still an echo. Um, hold on. Oof. Take this thing off. Can you hear me now? No, it's still an echo. Well, I can't do anything about that. But one of the reasons why I wanted to do this also is because it's not, again, we are talking about our experiences, but I also want to talk about solutions, right? So what would you like to see done in your community, in our communities, that will help to start to facilitate trauma-informed practices, or start to help to facilitate positive, more desirable living conditions?
I would like to see, honestly, for them, the city to really open up more multiple centers where you can go to and get help when you needed the assistance. I feel like now parents don't really have the assistance to really go to get the help. I feel like that we really need to, after this impact, trauma informed need to be in the schools, because 98% of these kids are going through some sort of trauma this day and time in Baltimore City. I feel like the schools doesn't have what it takes to actually give them what they need. They don't have the system. Because what about the academics? What about the kids when the trauma comes in and it affects them academically? What do you do for them? Like, what do you have in place to help these kids to get along through this, to get them to where they need to be? I believe that we need to do more things for is like open up more centers. I remember back then camps were mainly free back then, and now in this day of time, people are actually charging so much now. I think that parents can't really afford the camps to pay an extra 100, 200 a week for kids to go. So we need to open up things for them that where kids can go and have an outlet and have something to do, because kids don't have anything to do. They don't nothing really for them to do. They out on the streets and they just all over the place. And yet parents then gave up, because some parents are actually doing what they want to do. I work in behavior. I'm not seeing where parents are doctors and kids are not listening. You get what I mean? And so it's not the parent, it's the kids that, sometimes do what they want to do. And with the law, since, if you hit your child, it's a child abuse. And if you say this, child protective services at your home. So it's like so much that you really can do. And most parents are actually afraid to actually step in when children are doing things, because they don't want it. And so they back off and then let the child just go, just go. And so It's just not right. We need centers here for parents to support them with education. Parents that need to, further their education, things that can assist them, with things they need at home, food, furniture, things that they need because we're actually going. It's a lot, and we just need something for these children. Definitely need some. I want as far as the state's attorney, I want them to really do better. I mean, I want them to actually look at this and know that this cannot happen. I want them to know that it need to be more compassion from the city officials when things like this happen. And because I feel like if it they don't, it doesn't care. It didn't happen to them. It didn't happen to their families. I want to see some sort of change where this can never happen again. Where somebody oversees that when things like this come along, that they have the right things in place because it's an insult. It's a slap in the face, and it just makes me very angry when I talk about it. It just really gets in my skin, and it needs to be some sort of changes when it comes to the juvenile laws, juveniles. Period. We need things to do. We got to work, and we need people that want to work, and we need people that want to go out here and assist and do it. And we all need to just come together, and just try to do something for the kids. But I don't know. It's a lot, and it's like honestly, it's a whole lot. It's a struggle, and right now, what I want to see these city officials. I want to see them because I want to speak to them because I feel like they are, to me, honestly, I feel like it's cowardly. Like you can't even face what you guys have done. At least come out and apologize. You can't even apologize. You can't even call and give me a courtesy call and say, hey, I'm just following up with you after trial just to see where you are. Any type of mental state. It's just nothing, and it's just like it's sad and better picking people that's getting in the office. That's what we need to do. Because sometimes the people that's getting in the office, they failing us. And I feel like they really don't sometimes don't really care. And so it's a lot. And we need to do better all as as a city. They need to we all need to do better. But it starts from there. If they ain't how can we? If no type of consequences is not being in place, how are we going to get better? And I'm not just talking about murder cases. I mean, as you watch the news, look at the news. It's all over the place. And I feel like the community is speaking to the officials, but they're not listening. They're not listening. And I feel like, how can you not listen to the people that put their trust into you, who voted you in here to you lead us? And yet these people are crying out all over all type of diversity, and nobody is listening, and no justice is being done. It is a problem. It is a problem, and it needs to be fixed.
Yes, I absolutely that that is the main reason why we're doing this, right? Because our voices, like I said, need to be heard. We see what's wrong in our communities. They see what's wrong in our community. It's no secret, and yet I talk about Brooklyn Park often because this is where Aaliyah was shot, and I say you go into neighborhoods like Brooklyn Park, and all you see there is a bunch of chicken spots and liquor stores on every corner. You get what I'm saying? The closest grocery store you have is a Save-A-Lot, and you can't tell me for miles down the road where's the next Save-A-Lot in the state of Maryland, right? So if you're not feeding our children, right, and feeding their minds proper nutrition and proper things, what do you think that person is going to do? Like you're not going to see that in a Severna Park. You're not going to see it in Annapolis. You're not going to see it here in Glen Burnie. And yet you have these underserved communities who are just forgotten and overlooked. And I have a real big problem about police not coming to check on my child during Brooklyn Day. And this is something that they've known about for years. So I want to thank you. I know you guys, I'm having some audio issues. I don't know what that's about, but I'm going to go ahead and close out. And I want to thank you so much, Tabitha. I cannot tell you how powerful your voice is, the passion that you speak with. I am so glad that we are now gathering, right? We're gathering people to understand that, yes, your voice is important. Janai is important, right? And every single one of our children, their lives matter, right? So I tell people all the time, I don't give a damn if Aaliyah was at a block party in the Hollywood Hills or Brooklyn Park. You should have showed up for her, right? And so this is why I move the way that I do, because she was so important to me. Janai was so important to you, right? And there's countless others that have mothers and fathers. I'm never going to forget the fathers. I know my husband is here. He's right there. And he lost his baby that day. So I'm never going to forget our fathers. And this is another reason why with redirecting our culture, we are cultivating mentorship. We need the men to come in and step up, right? We need the men to come in and do some work with our young boys to show them leadership, responsibility, respect, right? And we need to work with our young women, right? So I thank you so much. Did you want to say anything else before we close out?
Um, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you listening when when I do call and have little things that I'm going through, and I just appreciate you. But this actually was the first time I actually spoke about it, and I mean I feel great about it, and I just glad I was able to share with other people. And thanks to everybody who came to support and who were able to support us on this movement with the Survivor's Voice. And I pray that we were blessings to other people. I hope that maybe other people can feel like they can get through it too. Thank
You
I can't hear you.
Well, that with that being said, I thank you guys for being so awesome and amazing. I've been reading as many comments as I could, and I thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. Please be sure. I think I pinned redirectingourculture.org. Please visit the website and sign up there. We are going to start organizing some things very soon, so I would love to include you all and what's coming, because that is a project that needs to happen. I was very intentional when I gave the name Redirecting Our Culture.
Right.
And I say this because when Aaliyah was shot, the only thing I can think about was, my God, we have absolutely have to redirect where our people are going, right? So the
Yeah.
imagery of stacks of money and guns and just drugs and popping pills, and you got the Megs with liquor getting poured down the throat. You got all of this imagery, right? And then we
Right.
wonder why with our boys are picking up guns, our girls are picking up guns, and they're stealing cars and they're doing all. There is a rule now. I can go off, y'all. My son called me a preacher all the time. I can go off, but I'm not going to, because it's echo thing on thing. But there is a rule now with social media that you don't post where you are until you actually left, right? Because we have people who look just like you and I, who are envious of what we have, and will show up to where you are and shoot and kill you. So I'm very careful about where I post. It's not that I operate in fear, but I understand that there are people who really are out here to do you harm, and we've got to change. We've got to redirect. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Sorry about the audio. We'll fix that. All right, I'm going to end this. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.